Hi, welcome back. Today I'm working with the veggies and I have a couple of projects. So the first one is I have these little seedlings that I sowed, I think about 3 weeks ago. And although they're still pretty young, I wanted to pot them up because it's been pretty hot and we're expecting some more hot weather. And they're a little bit hard to keep watered evenly in these little plugs. So I sowed them in these I guess they're kind of like root trainer plugs. They're like 2 inches wide, but they're pretty deep. And they actually, I don't know if this is visible on the camera, but they all have like roots dangling out the bottom. So I thought I would pot them up. I have a bunch of 1 gallon pots. And then for mix, I'm using the same mix that we used for our raised beds. So it's pretty well draining. It has sand, it has barch, composted mulch. And I added a little bit of chicken manure. And then I added some of our own compost as well. So it should be a pretty nutritious mix. So we sowed some spinach, and it was giant winter spinach, and then there's centennial broccoli, and then some kind of a winter, I can't read my own handwriting, but some kind of a winter cauliflower. And then also we did a bunch of arugula. So for potting these up, I find the easiest way to do it is to partially fill the new pot with soil and kind of do it on a slope. So it's kind of like sloping down, and then you can lie the plug on it and then kind of top it up. And that way you're not like crushing any of the roots because they might still be like a little bit sensitive. We'll see once we open the first one, we'll see if this is a good idea to do right now or not. So I find just gently massaging the cell and then sometimes giving it like a little bit of a poke. And I might try pulling a little bit, but I'm not sure how this is gonna go, so I don't want to risk it. So that's the first one out, and it mostly just has those roots that were going down, but we'll put it in and see how it goes. So I'm just kind of like lying this down so that the top is kind of where we want the top of the soil to be, and then I'll pack or just place, I guess, some more soil around it. And then I'll write it and just give it a little shake to even it out. And that's basically it. I'm not really going to pack it down or anything. I kind of want the seedling to feel like it hasn't actually moved. So yeah, that's basically it. And then I'll carry on with the rest, and I'm going to repeat the process with all of them. The only one that will be a little bit different, I noticed that I guess for some of the spinach, I had sowed 2 per cell. So for those ones, I'm just going to divide them and put them into separate ones, but we'll kind of see how it goes with the roots too. Sometimes when they kind of like flop a little bit, I'll just gently, and actually this is easier to do without gloves, but I'm just gonna gently like hold it upright where I kind of think it should be growing, and then give it a little jiggle while I'm holding it. And I find that they often just kind of like settle themselves in. And these ones too, I'm not too worried about them flopping because they're so small. So even if they do, I think that they'll right themselves eventually. And part of the reason I wanted to do this now was because I'm going to be going away for a week in about 2 weeks, and I wanted to make sure that they were established enough so that Lewis doesn't have to worry about them too much. I thought that if they were in a bigger pot, they'll just be like lower maintenance as well. Okay, and the last one. It went pretty well. I feel like the arugula maybe would have benefited from staying longer, and I guess that's one of the disadvantages from sowing different kinds altogether. Like once I started messing up some of the cells, like they all got a little messed up, so I don't think I could have really left them. So I just put them in and we'll see what happens. Those ones grow pretty quickly, so it's not too late. If I wanted to sow a few more, I can still do that. And I ended up not splitting where there were like two little broccoli seedlings together. I felt like the pot was probably big enough, and because the roots were like still pretty delicate, I didn't want to mess them up too much. I thought that by like separating them, basically I'd be like killing like the small one, and I wasn't prepared to do that yet. But I think that may be what happens eventually. Sweet. So I ended up with 4 pots of broccoli, 5 pots of arugula, five of oh, sorry, 5 of broccoli. This was something else, cauliflower. Okay, good. I'm glad they're labeled because those two look identical. And then 6 of the spinach, which includes one of the doubles. So we'll see. But that should be like plenty for now. And I could technically be planting these directly into the veggie beds, but we just don't have room yet. So the idea is that maybe I think in the Three Sisters bed, once that finishes in like October time, I can kind of take all that up, put these guys in, and then I'll still give them about a month before a first frost just to get like settled in. So from here, the plan basically is to water them in really well and then put them in the greenhouse until we're ready to use them in the garden. So that's kind of setting up the future garden harvest. But for now, there's a few things that I wanted to take you along to harvest. We have one eggplant that looks beautiful and really ready, so I'm going to go get that. And I'll bring you along. Okay, so everybody's tucked away in the greenhouse, and I kind of put them where I thought that they would be happiest. They all look a little flopped. So here we have the cauliflower and the broccoli, and then the spinach is on this side, and we have a bunch of sunflowers which are ready to go out, and then we have the arugula, which kind of looks the saddest, but I'm kind of just curious to see what happens. If it survives, then great. Otherwise, we can do more. And then over here, there's a little bit of a mess. And then we have the eggplant, which has a nice big one right at the bottom that I'll harvest right now. I was actually in here yesterday and I was thinking about picking the eggplant. And then I didn't realize how spiky these things are, or like I should say like thorny. And it actually like drew blood from my finger. So I was like, okay, definitely gonna do this properly. So I'm going to give this guy a snip. And as with everything else, I've never grown it before, but I figured that I should cut this one off. From what I know, it's actually like pretty good to have them when they're still pretty young because they get seedier the older they get. So my thought was cut this guy off so that the other guys who are in here and still growing can now get a little more attention, a little more energy. Yay, I'm so excited. It's not huge, but I think what we'll do is maybe slice it up and grill it, and then it will kind of enjoy it the most. And I don't know if you can see, but these spikes are lethal, but also like really decorative and pretty. I was actually thinking as well that if there are any young ones that don't like make it to maturity towards the end of the season, they would be really cute in flower arrangements as well. Anyway, so this is the eggplant. Now let's go over to the tomatoes because we have a bunch of ripe ones and we wanted to make bruschetta for lunch. Well, a few updates before I start picking. So, well, not really an update as far as the cosmos bed or asparagus bed, but it's kind of the cosmos bed right now. But I'm super excited because when I chose the color for the flowers, I thought that eventually it would match up with the ripening apples. And then also we have a hydrangea limelight that kind of goes that same pinky tone. And I feel like we're a couple weeks away from everything lining up. So I'm really excited about that. Not much else going on here. The cannabis plant that had completely split open after a rainstorm is doing great. It seems to have like, if not healed, at least just gotten used to the fact that the trunk was split in half. So the growth all looks good. I don't know that there's any buds or anything coming yet. It looks like there might be something forming, but I'm kind of just enjoying the foliage, so that's awesome. The raspberries are kind of overwhelmed by the cannabis plant. This one's trying to reach away. So this one's obviously an annual. So the plan for next year is to just have the raspberries. I actually didn't think that they would fill in as quickly as they did because these were all like just planted this year and they were just like a small cane when I put them in. So anyway, and then yeah, zucchini is doing awesome. We've had like a little frog who's been living on here. And That's great too. I don't see him right now, but there's quite a few fruit forming. We've had a pretty steady supply. I'll say from the like cucurbit family, the zucchini is the one that's been doing the best for us. Like pumpkins have been a little bit mixed. Cucumber was doing great, and then now not so much. So not sure what's going on there, but this guy has been doing great consistently. And then we have these beets, which I had kind of transplanted just like little beetlings. And I'll show you a close up, but basically, we have this one pile of beets still, and I lifted one up. And it came away as like a perfect little transplant beet. It has a little rootlet and it has its own leaf. So I think what we'll do is actually just like divide that and plant that all back in here so that we can have another harvest a little later. And then the carrot seedlings, you can really see where they got washed away when we were watering. I think maybe I didn't like bury them deeply enough. So they're kind of all over the place. It was supposed to be 2 rows, but I'm really excited that that's growing. So that will be a first. I'm just not touching them, just waiting for them to do their thing. I feel like these sunflowers are kind of almost over. These were the teddy bear ones, and I have a few more that I just showed in the greenhouse. So I think I might replace these two with some fresh ones. Kale's doing awesome. And then on the back of the kale, we have our cauliflower. We did purple cauliflower. And I was really excited, like where I had sowed them. For some reason, the ones in the middle of the bed didn't come through, but there were like clusters of ones on either end. And I lifted one of the ones from like a little dense group and put it in the middle. And I did that a few days ago, and it like looks amazing. It like didn't really tell that it was transplanted, which was the best case scenario. And then over here we have the sunflowers, which are obviously just like looking glorious right now. This one's starting to go to seed, and these ones are both like edible varieties, so I'm excited to get to try those. We have these beautiful purple beans that I have been nibbling on, and also we've been cooking with. We've been grilling them a lot, and just with like a little olive oil and salt, and then like putting them on the barbecue. They are amazing. They just get like really tender and sweet, and actually they lose the color, so they become green when you cook them. But it's kind of fun to see it happen before your eyes. So yeah, I'm gonna come through actually and pick all of the beans. So I might just do that now. So I said before about how these turn green when you cook them, but it still makes it worth growing them because they look so beautiful on the plant. And like the contrast, especially the ones I just picked from the sunflower, the contrast between the yellow and the purple was like amazing. And these ones are really good grilled, but we also, and I think what I'm going to do with them today is make like a little salad. So if you like boil them kind of part way, and then so that they're still kind of crunchy, and then you just like slice a couple cloves of garlic really thinly, and then mix that in, and then we get some like fresh mint. Oh, I don't know how I'm gonna get up here. And then we get some fresh mint as well and chop that up, and then just with like a little salt and olive oil, it makes a very refreshing salad, and it's supposed to be hot today, so. And then these ones just like grew all the way up the corn, which was exactly what we wanted them to do. Well, I guess, and the sunflower, but still. And the wild thing is that it hasn't actually been that long since I was in here picking them. I think it was, I don't know, maybe a week or maximum 10 days ago. Okay, awesome. Have my little bean harvest, and now I'm going to move on to the tomato bed. Okay, in my excitement to talk about the beans, I totally neglected to talk about the corn, so I'll put some close-ups of them, but we do have quite a few ears forming, which was really exciting. And again, since it was like the first time that we had grown them, I didn't really know that the ears form in like the elbows of the plant, so that was interesting. But there's some that even have like some beans kind of twirling around them, so that's like really cute. So I think that they're still like a few weeks away at least, but I'll keep you posted. I feel like it's almost a little bit cliche to say at this point, but I've so enjoyed growing these tomatoes. They've just been such a rewarding plant, and I think for next year I'm thinking of growing them in some of the garden beds as well, like with the ornamentals, just because they have like such nice color, and even just like the structure of the plant, how the leaves are like a little bit kind of gray looking, I think makes them like contrast really nicely with other plants as well. I figured we were due kind of a big harvest of tomatoes, so that because there's so many green ones on here, and my understanding is that when you pick them, the plant will just send all its energy to the growing tomatoes, and then you end up with more tomatoes. These ones are little, but they're just like so cute. Yeah, so I'm thinking for one of the garden beds, I wanted to do almost like a little like tomato hedge. Maybe put a bunch of like little obelisks in a row, and then yeah, just grow, I think cherry tomatoes specifically because they're like the cutest. Some of these guys are just like huge. Okay, I didn't think it was going to be a full basket, and there's still so many to go. So I guess we're not actually going to pick them all today. Another thing that we've been doing with them is something that my mom does, where we've been doing it mostly with the cherry tomatoes actually, because you can get like, I don't know, a whole bowl of them pretty easily. We toss them with olive oil and garlic, and then a little nutritional yeast, and then breadcrumbs. And then we broil them like that for like 10 or 15 minutes until they go kind of all black, or like kind of crackly black, not fully black, just like crackly black on the edges. And they start to pop and stuff. And then that makes like a really nice simple tomato sauce. Oh, we load like the oregano on too. Or sometimes you can do it with basil as well. And that's really good. Like the basil leaves get a little bit crispy under the broiler, almost like a kale chip. But with all these tomatoes, I think we might have to do like, I don't know, a little tomato sauce or something. I can't believe how many tomatoes this is. I'm so excited about it, and they all look so juicy and amazing. And then here we are. So, the tomatoes, a huge basket full of tomatoes. I like don't even know how much this weighs, but like a lot. And then the eggplant with a super spiny top, and then the beans and the basil. So that's it for today. I'm going to head inside because it's getting pretty smoky again and I want to be cooking. But thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next time.